listeners, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. If you are Canadian, I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. I know I did. The weather was beautiful. We had some great food and really just grateful for being able to see everybody this weekend. So my name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain and the Blended podcast. I'm also the founder of the Blended Pledge, and I'm super excited to be here with you today because we've got a really great show. Now, we're going to be talking about women in the workplace. We're going to be talking about women in supply chain, and I've got Marina Mayer here to join me in just a minute. But before we do that, let's hear from our show sponsors. So are you ready to find your community? If you're struggling to find a supply chain community of like-minded professionals where you can level up, network, learn about best practices from experts in supply chain, professional development, and marketing, look no further. We created the Secret Society of Supply Chain to provide a safe space, a community for everyone in the industry with so many unique opportunities. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. So head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com to find out which community is right for you. All right, let's get to our brand new episode for this week. So this week is episode 430, and Bryant from Manhattan joined me to talk about unification and supply chain unification. Now, I had a really great conversation with him at Momentum when I was there. I think it was back in April or May, and he's brought it to the Let's Talk Supply Chain stage to really dive into what it means to unify your supply chain systems. And I had a few light bulb moments on this one. So go and check it out, episode 430, wherever you listen to the show. Now, we've got a lot of live events coming up, so strap in because I'm going to go through all of them. And I want you to click the attend button, even if you can't attend live, because I will send you the link after we go live so you have the recording. So tomorrow, Christine Barnhart is going live at 10 a.m. Eastern, transforming external manufacturing with Mingo Smart Factory. I think they have an announcement that's going to be happening on this particular show, so make sure that you tune in. And then on Thursday, I'm going live at 1 p.m. Eastern with Dawn Hicks, the founder of OptiLogic. Now, we're talking about AI in supply chain design. What execs need to know? What do supply chain professionals need to know? What do leaders need to know? Everybody's talking about AI. How does it help you in your supply chain design? And this is a critical moment for everybody to really strap in and listen to how you can use AI to be able to help you do that. Then we've got LogTech Live on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern as well. Eric Johnson is going live, Tech for Brokers, Navigating Pricing and Capacity in a Volatile Market. I can't wait for that one. And then Thursday, October 31st, we have a Halloween episode with SDI, Conquer Inflation. Ooh, it's kind of spooky. Tackling purchasing's number one threat. Miriam is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking all about how that is affecting procurement, but also how you can move past that and move through it. What else have we got? Oh, you might be wondering, because we've been putting out a couple of posts about the port strike. And you're like, the port strike, we were kind of over that last week or the week before. But that was just a Band-Aid, and it could happen in January. And we want you to know what 10 staples will be affected by the port strike. We had a few celebrities out there when the port strike was first announced going, go and stock up on everything, and we do not need panic buying. So we've provided the 10 staples that will be affected and that you might want to stock up on. Last but not least, I want to tell you where I'm going to be. So at the end of this month, I'm going to be in Cleveland, Ohio for the NMFTA Cybersecurity Conference. If you are curious and you're concerned about cybersecurity in your supply chain, this is the conference for you. Of course, we're going to be talking about the Women in Supply Chain Forum today, which is happening in November. And then we've got Manifest happening February 10th through 12th. So hopefully I'll see you. Go and sign up to all of those because I'd love to say hi. Now it's time to bring up our guest. Hello, Marina. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me again.
Good. It's so good to see you. I feel like we haven't seen each other for a while. But it's so good to see you on the show. So, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am Marina Mayer. I am the editor-in-chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive Brands. And I'm also the co-founder of our Women in Supply Chain Forum, which is coming up in November in Atlanta. I'm very excited. And the founder of our Women in Supply Chain Award, which we launched in 2020, which kind of brought us to where we are today with the in-person event. So I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, now we're going to be talking a lot about the forum, but we're going to be recognizing a lot of those award winners. Do you have the stats on the awards for this year? Because I know we went through the stats last year and I'm kind of putting you on the spot. So you might not have them available, but I think we had like 400 last year. What did we have for this year?
Yeah, so it was around that. And yes, I'm trying to pull up because I don't have them super memorized. So nobody judge, please.
I set the stage for that. I was like, I'm totally putting her on the spot here.
No, you're totally fine. So we did have 305 winners this year. Now, keep in mind, when we launched the award in 2020, we only had 136 winners. So, of course, not everybody wins, but we do try to really keep an eye on the nominations and work with these nominees to make sure that they do have an opportunity to win. But what's cool about this award this year, and we talk about progress and growth and stuff, of that 305 winners, 81 of those submissions were submitted by men.
Wow.
And that is like
allies.
Unheard of, because when we launched the award, that number was 0. So 4 years, we've gone from 0 to 81. And then also it's cool, because I know that you and I have talked about self-advocacy a ton, is that 46 of those nominations came from women who nominated themselves. And that number back in 2020 was also 0. So
progress, baby.
Progress, and I'm very excited, and I'm very, honored to continue, supporting these women and sharing their journeys and sharing their stories and collaborating with women like you who can kind of, showcase them and their efforts and their achievements and their goals a little bit more. So I'm very excited. It's a pretty good.
Can I get some cheer emojis from the audience? I really want to hear everybody. Get in the comments, put some cheer emojis, give me a woot woot, because I think that that's awesome. We're going to go through some of the stats a little bit later on in the show to talk about the progress that we've made, how we're actually reverting backwards in some cases. And so this is a really, really big deal. We are getting behind the women in this industry, and I love to see that. All right. So we're going to go to the poll, because we are going to be talking a lot about women in supply chain coming up, but we're going to go to the poll first. So the question that we asked everybody: how should businesses best prepare for future port disruptions? Now, I said this at the beginning of the show. I was like, we've done a few posts about this pork strike, and you guys are like, I don't know why you're still talking about it. Well, because it's just a Band-Aid, and they are going to be coming back to the table for January 15th. So we want to ask you. So we had just under 160 votes for this one. 63% of you said diversify supply chains. 17% of you said rely on domestic suppliers. 11% said invest in technology. And 8% said increase inventory reserves. Marina, what do you think about this poll? Was it surprising? Which one would you have chosen?
So it's surprising and it's not surprising, because a lot of the things that we have been reporting on regarding the strike, everybody is talking about technology. Now, the funny thing about technology is that that's also one of the bargaining points that is part of why they were striking. So to invest in technology to protect yourself while these workers are against the technology for their jobs. So it's kind of, you can see it both ways, but everybody kept talking about we need to invest in technology because that is how internally my company will continue to move forward. But diversifying the supply chains, I mean, that can mean anything and everything. That can mean, nearshoring, but it could also mean, working with 3PLs a little bit more. Maybe it's diversifying how you're importing your goods. It could be a lot of things.
Using
exactly
coast, importing through Canada. I mean, there's a lot of options, but with options come overwhelm as well. You really need to know which way you want to go, what risks you want to take.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to your point about technology, I was reading actually, I think it was a post. I can't remember who it was by. I was reading some comments and they were saying that, it's one thing to, try to get people to accept technology with brute force. Well, I can
Mhm.
tell you that the research that I've done with technology implementations, it's only 20% about the technology. It's 80% the change management and how we're actually moving forward with that technology and moving forward with the people. And so this comment on the post the other day was really talking about how are we helping them to embrace it and see a bright future for themselves, and what's that path to success for the people in those jobs at the moment. And I think that is probably where that discussion hopefully needs to go, so that we can work hand in hand and make sure that there are parameters in place to ensure that those people are going to have a path to success, because sometimes it doesn't look like there is one.
Well, I do agree with that. And I think a lot of it is just being able to support them as workers first and foremost, and
Mhm.
understand that, technology is not there to replace your job, it's there to help you. But I think, there's a lot of misinformation and not a lot of education around that
Mhm.
to, for some companies to make that a viable option.
Yeah. Change management has to be the
Yeah.
number one priority. I understand invest in technology, but invest in your people first. I want to
Mhm.
give a shout out to Eric on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So now's the time that we usually do a bit of a market update. Like, you talk to a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people, you're at a lot of conferences. What's kind of top of mind for everybody? What are people thinking about? Yeah, talk to me about that.
So I think there's a lot of what's called economic uncertainty. Things that are happening in the world, whether it's what's going to go on in November, whether it's, there's been a lot of hurricanes hitting the United States. There's just a lot of uncertainty with where our economy and where the industry is going to go. Cargo theft is still a big issue. There's still stuff going on overseas that impacts a lot of what happens here domestically, not just in the United States, but Canada too. And I think that there's just a lot of rules and regulations coming up. FISMA stuff is happening. It's going to go into effect, in the beginning of the new year. There's just a lot of juggling acts going on. And I think because there's a lot going on, there's a lot of uncertainty as well. Companies are not sure if they're supposed to be laying off. They're not sure if they can expand their workforce. They want to invest in technology, but they're not sure what that looks like. And, it's a grim outlook to some degree, but I think, at some point when you're down, you can only go up. And so I think everybody's just kind of in prep mode with their guards up. And then hopefully that kind of changes and they can kind of in the new year, expand their workforce and kind of grow their businesses and be in a better position.
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of people that who I spoke to at Inland, where I was recently, were hopeful for 2025. And a lot of people have prepared. A lot of supply chain
Yes.
professionals, retailers, they've prepared for not only this, they prepared for the port strike. So they have inventory for the holiday season. There's also that holiday crunch time that's happening right now. So you're right. There's a lot of things for supply chain professionals to think about. And it really, just sort of depends on what happens in November, where everything is going to go. And we're all, just trying to figure that out.
Agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about Women in Supply Chain Forum. Now, we're going to do this in a couple of different parts. So, first, I want to introduce the forum, get to know why you started it, et cetera, et cetera. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership. I want to talk about why it's important for collaboration. And then we're going to go into some stats and a woman in the workplace report that I found, which is like the information is incredible. And then third, we're going to go and do a bit of a rundown of what you can expect when you come to the forum, what's on the agenda, what we're excited about, all that kind of stuff. So let's start with this one. So this is an article that you did back in April talking about the woman in supply chain. What kind of companies are there, supply chain professionals? Why did you start this Woman in Supply Chain Forum in the first place?
So when we launched the award in 2020, the goal was always to launch something that was kind of a counterpart, stepstone cousin in person. Obviously, the pandemic had other ideas for us. And then one day we woke up and said, we're just doing it anyway. And the goal was to build a networking environment. It was to build a place and a community where women and their male counterparts can come and network and just be a part of a close knit community of like minded individuals who just want to grow professionally. They want to network. They want to become a part of something. We all women all go to all these events, and then the guys go off and they golf. What do we do? And so I wanted to build a place for people to come and feel that. And so we launched the Women in Supply Chain Forum. We're now in our third year. We have some phenomenal speakers coming. I'm just so excited. We have Jennifer Kobus from Ulta Beauty, Olivia Hugh from Uber Freight. And we're not just talking about women in supply chain. We're talking about topics that impact our industry. And this is how the women in supply chain are managing it. This is what they're doing. This is how they're helping their company solve today's challenges. And so it's very dynamic. We do have some men coming. I'm so excited because it is open to men. We want them to be there. They're a part of this journey too. And I think it's just indicative of the growth of our industry, and we had to move into a different spot and change hotels, and because we're growing, and that's such a great idea. Such a great thing. So I'm so excited.
Well, I think it's also about how do we support each other?
Yes.
And, people need different things, whether it's gender related, whether it's, us as individuals, people need different things. But we need to come together and figure out how it is that I can best support you. You can best support me. What does support actually look like in a workplace? And what do we need and what do we not need? Because there's a lot of assumptions that are made.
Yeah.
And unless we talk about it, we can't really solve for that. We can't really have a solution for that. And so that's one of the great things about the forum is that we do come together and we talk about these things. We talk about the hard things and we share something that probably is something that somebody else is going through, and happy that you share it so that we can talk about it and move through it. Now, I love the partnership. A lot of people may not know this, but I own the Woman in Supply Chain trademark, and I did not get it so that I could be the trademark police. I got it so that I could bring everybody to the table and we could talk about collaborating. And one of the things that came out of that is our partnership for the forum. And I absolutely appreciate that because you've not only supported me in some of the initiatives that we've created and the Woman in Supply Chain series, but then I can also support you with the awards and the forum. And together we can make a bigger impact. And I think that for me is really the ultimate goal. I mean, there's a lot of different things that women, not only in our industry, but in a lot of industries, can get involved in. However, I feel like if we don't come together and collaborate, we're really stretching everybody's time, money, energy, and resources for what?
Right.
So, for a marketing campaign, right? So I really appreciate the partnership. What do you think?
So I do appreciate it too, and I agree with you because I feel like when everybody kind of does their own thing, they're almost like devaluing what really needs to happen. Because in order to create this community, we kind of need everybody under the same roof. We need everybody together. And that's from all different segments. That's from, the trucking department. That's from manufacturing. That's all your STEM women. That is, women who are on the front lines. That's all of us. And we all have to be in the same room to have the same discussions that actually matter to move the needle. If we do them in separate sections, we're just making it harder on everybody, and including ourselves, because now it's becoming like, well, we have to do this and we have to do this. If we all bring our resources together, we can move all kinds of mountains together. And that's why I've really valued our partnership, because there's skill sets and connections that you have that you've brought to the table and vice versa. And so it meshes, we kind of lean on each other's strengths to make this work. And I think that that's what I get out of this wonderful partnership.
Yeah, and I'll make one more sort of comment on this before we go into some other stuff. But also, we are empowering and encouraging women to invest in themselves. I think a lot of times we talk about investing in our career, and that looks like different things for different people. Maybe it's an MBA, maybe it's a certificate or an association or things like that. But at the same time, we need support. Whether it's yearly, whether it's monthly, and we need to invest in women-owned businesses to be able to do that. If we keep doing things for free, we actually devalue the people who are doing the work. We devalue each other, and we devalue the generation that comes up behind us that also wants to do this work, but does need to get paid. Listen, money is not an evil thing, and we have to stop talking about it like that as women in the industry. And I just wanted to say that, because I think it's really important that we encourage each other, invest in each other, so that we can move that mountain and move it forward. All right, let's get into some stats. Now, I found this on Instagram, and it's from the Lean In organization. I don't know if you've heard of them. If you haven't heard of them, go and check it out. It's leanin.org. And they came together with McKinsey, and they put together a Woman in the Workplace report. And they're shedding light on the progress we've made and how much we still have to achieve. Because I get this question all the time. Do you think that we've made progress? Where do you think that we need to make progress? And, I think I put up a post. Your opinion is something without data. So if I'm saying an opinion on this, I didn't really have the data to back me up, and now I do. So I want to go through this and just sort of show everybody where we are. So in 2015, women held 17% of C-suite roles, and today women make up 29% of C-suite roles. Now you might be thinking, that's amazing. Yes, but we are declining in the support for diversity and inclusion. In 2020, for every 100 men promoted to manager, only 58 Black women were promoted. Today, 54 are promoted when 100 men are promoted to manager. So we've actually seen a decline there. And in 2019, 74% of companies we surveyed offered bias training. Now, 86%. And lastly, I think this is the last one. We might have some more. 2020, 61% of men and 65% of women considered themselves allies to women in color. Now it's 60% and 68%. And so we keep going up and down in a variety of different ways. What did you think when you saw this? And I'll sort of run through some of the other stats.
No, I was thinking the same thing. It's kind of going up and down. There is no pattern. There is no methodology to it. I'm not even sure why these numbers are the way they are. It's very confusing. And while you were talking before we hopped on previously to going live, I looked up because we had found some stats on our end. And the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report in 2023 says it will take 131 years to reach full gender parity.
So that's interesting, because this one's in 50 years. So maybe we're somewhere in between 50 and 130 years, but I'm not sure why we're so far apart.
Sure, either. And then they said advancing women's business and employment opportunities could add $12 trillion to the global GDP, but the average cost to hire a new employee is on average $5,000. So again, the numbers are kind of not really in sync. This one is very confusing as to why it's up and down. And I am confused because I feel, from where I sit, covering women in supply chain as extensively as we do, that these really don't make sense, because I feel the trajectory of all of our numbers continues to go up. There isn't an up and down from where I sit, but I'm curious as to who they're interviewing and polling for this, because
I will say that I have noticed a bit of a decline in the investment and commitment in diversity and inclusion. They're actually not talking about it as much as they used to. So that one I can kind of see, especially when everybody's sort of pulling up bootstraps, right? They're not sure what's going to happen. You've got economic uncertainty. The first thing that does go is the investment in diversity and inclusion.
Well, and I think there for a while, last year and the year prior, everybody wanted to do DEI initiatives. It was almost like they had a checklist and they were just checking boxes. And it was like, really? Are you really doing it? Are you really carrying out these initiatives? And so now I think we've kind of come back full circle where those companies who just initiated it because they felt they had to are now maybe retreating because they really aren't. So there could be the skew in numbers as well. I just am still very confused by it, and I'm hoping that we continue to move upwards instead of up and down.
Up and forwards, right? Up and
Correct.
forward.
Yes.
And we need
Yes.
to keep empowering, keep having these conversations. I can just hear some people going, why are we still talking about this? Well, 50 years to parity, that's a long time.
Yeah,
And,
that's a long time.
that's a lot of ground to cover. And so maybe we're just not talking about it enough. I want to give a shout out to Mary Casillo over on my personal LinkedIn. I'm currently trying to make a bigger impact in the pallet industry as a woman for other women. I'm very excited to be there in November, and we are excited to see you as well. All right, let's get to that agenda. So those who haven't signed up can go and sign up and register and see us in person in November. So what can they expect from the forum? You already talked about some of the keynote speakers that we're going to see from Uber and Ulta. What are some of the program initiatives? Because I know that you make a point of making sure that we've got some time to interact and debate some of the big issues.
Yes, we actually we have something this year called Coffee and Conversations. It was something we kind of played off of stuff that you do as well, but it was off of also based off of what we did last year with our roundtable discussions, and it's basically speed dating style networking. So when you register, you sign up for a specific topic, or you get your topic when you go to pick up your badge, and you kind of get put into this group, and it's speed dating style. So everybody gets 30 minutes at this certain table with this certain topic, and you kind of break the ice, and it's talking about these hot button issues and kind of getting to know other women that are maybe in the same situation that you are. And they could be competitors, they could not be, but you know that they're in the same situation as you. We're still doing our fireside chats. Everybody loves the fireside chats. So we brought
And
those back. Yes.
Supply Chain Jeopardy?
Supply chain
Are
jeopardy.
we
That's what I
giving
was going to
away
get
some?
to.
I think
Yes.
we're giving away some t-shirts for that.
So I think you are. So we're doing this. We decided to do last year. We did a mentorship workshop and it was great. But every year our goal is to try to do something different. And so we had this crazy idea to do supply chain jeopardy. Now we're in the planning stages. I've come to the conclusion it's not as easy as it sounds, but I'm very excited about it because it's going to really get the room kind of livened up. You get put in a group that's your team. You get some fun interactive team name. And it's just you play Jeopardy, but it's all supply chain based. It's the history of women. It's industry trends. It's how things are started. And then there are some companies who have sponsored, and so some of their company questions are on the board as well. So I'm just super excited about it, and I think it'll just be fun. And we're looking for something that's non-traditional. This is a great group of women who just genuinely love each other and support each other. And so what's a friendly competition,
Well, and I'm going to be recording podcasts on site.
Yes.
And the crazy thing this year is that it's on my birthday. So I'm going to be working really hard on my birthday because I've got like 8 podcasts I think I'm recording on site. Then we're going to be on stage and we've got lots of fun things that's going to happen as well. So I can't wait to see everybody. If you have not registered yet, please go ahead and register. If you've got women in supply chain on your team, encourage them to register, invest in them to go to something like this, because they will come back with creative ideas, strategic ideas, be more innovative for your team and how you're moving your supply chains forward. So we have put the link to the forum to register in the comments. So go and click there, check it out. And I cannot wait to see you there. Any last comments, Marina, that you want to share?
I'm just very excited to see everybody. And when you put that website up, I realized that we had 23 days to go, and I've kind of had a little bit of a little mini heart attack, but we're good.
We got this. All right. Well, I can't wait to
excited.
see everybody there. Thank you so much for joining us here on Thoughts and Coffee. Marina, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in November. Bye, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Bye, everyone.